Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I don't know if I love her after finding out about her 5-year affair? My sister, 32, moved in with me because she got pregnant 5 months ago from what she claimed was a one-night stand. I love my sister, so of course, I took her in. My husband is overseas for 6 more months, so it was nice to have her around because I care about her very much. On Monday, I came home and saw my sister and a strange woman in a screaming match on my doorstep. I obviously didn't know what was happening, but I saw the woman poking my pregnant sister's shoulder, so I intervened. I sent my sister inside, and she begged me to send the woman away. I didn't understand what was going on, but I wanted the altercation to end for everyone's sake, so I told the woman as much. Then she started screaming, asking me if I was also sleeping with her husband. I was like, and then she basically revealed that my sister had been having an affair with her husband for 5 years. 5 years. She had everything printed out, chats, photos, emails, receipts. It was disturbing to see, and I didn't want to go through it all, but a few things were established. My sister knew about his wife. She knew she was the mistress and liked it. This woman was a stay-at-home mom to their 4 kids, one of whom has a severe disability from a car accident. Her husband knew about my sister's pregnancy and even took her on a baby moon to celebrate it. The affair had been going on the entire time, with my sister believing he would eventually leave his wife for her. My sister had fully embraced the role of being the other woman and was emotionally invested in their relationship, despite his repeated lies about leaving his wife. I told the woman I was very sorry and that I obviously didn't know, but I asked her to leave because this wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want the neighbors to call the police. She was furious, but gave me her number on a post-it, begging me not to let her husband stay at my house. I assured her that no man was stepping foot in my home. My sister was begging me not to believe the woman, calling her a vindictive ex-wife. I told her, all right then, let's look up the marriage online. Let's see if a motion for dissolution of marriage was ever submitted. We fought hard. My sister kept saying I would never understand and that they loved each other, but he just couldn't leave his wife. Blah blah blah. I called her dumb and naive. The next day, I told her she could stay here because I didn't want her to become a financial burden on that woman in any way, but I also told her that, right now, I didn't want to engage with her. My sister asked me if I still loved her, and I told her honestly, right now, I can't say I do. I will always help my nephew and not endanger you, but I can't like you because you've shown me you're not a trustworthy person. I told her I didn't trust her not to try anything with my husband, and I didn't trust her with anything at all, so I made her sign a tenants agreement. She's been begging me to forgive her, and I told her there's nothing to forgive. I just don't know who she is anymore. Am I the a-hole? Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I don't know if I love her after finding out about her 5-year affair? First, I'd like to clarify a few things. I am not going to tell my sister to get rid of the baby. That's not my place, and I would never suggest such a thing. Also, I am not going to install tracking software on her phone or demand access to all her devices. That's invasive and wrong. I've been thinking a lot, and while I can't say that I don't love my sister, it's very hard to feel that love right now. I don't know who she is anymore. It's not just that she lied to me. It's what she did and how convinced she is that she was justified because they were in love. She's brought chaos into my home that I opened up to her. I'm deeply disappointed in her, and I just don't like her at the moment. I'm letting her stay with me because I don't want her to become dependent on him. I don't think he's a good man either, and as a social worker, I've seen these scenarios too many times. My sister is already deluded. I don't need to open the door to a dependency that's also financial. Now, on to the update. I haven't been punishing my sister, but I've been treating her like a roommate. This is driving her crazy. She's begging me to go back to how things were before, but I can't. I told her that I needed time and that things couldn't just return to normal overnight. She tried to explain how it all happened. She admitted that she always knew he was married, but believed she could tell how unhappy he was and felt he deserved to be happy. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened and that he was about to explode. I asked her why she would involve herself with a married man, knowing the hurt it would cause. She said she wanted to be a wife and a good mom, and that included his kids. She had hoped he would divorce his wife so they could all move on and finally be happy together. I just stared at her, unable to comprehend how she could rationalize her actions. A few days later, he appeared at our house, claiming he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. I told him to leave immediately or I would call the police. My sister was furious with me, accusing me of ruining her chance at happiness. I made it clear to her, if he comes over again, I will evict her. She's free to date anyone she wants, but not under my roof. I also told her that if she plans to have him around after the baby is born, she'll need to find her own place. Word has gotten around our community about the affair. While we were grocery shopping, a woman even spat on my sister. Many of her friends have cut ties with her, calling her a homewrecker. Some are married themselves and don't want her near their husbands. I haven't said I told you so even once. We unexpectedly ran into his wife at a local cafe. My sister wanted to apologize and suggested that maybe they could all have a good relationship for the sake of the kids. The wife laughed coldly and said, "You made your choices, now live with them. Don't expect me to make this easier for you." My sister is devastated and has been lying in bed ever since. I'm taking care of her physical needs, making sure she eats, stays hydrated, and attends her prenatal appointments, but I can't bring myself to comfort her emotionally. I just don't have it in me right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out of my wedding for making my fiancé cry? My wedding was this past weekend, and I'm honestly still in shock over what happened. My fiancé, now wife, and I have been together for 7 years. We've gone through everything together, moving in, job losses, her battle with anxiety, everything. So our wedding day was supposed to be our day to finally celebrate all that, right? Well, it was, until my brother decided to ruin it. For context, my brother, 30M, has always had a weird thing about pranks. He calls them jokes, but honestly, they've always been mean-spirited and embarrassing. Growing up, I'd laugh it off or get mad, and he'd say I was being too sensitive. But this time, it went way too far. During our reception, he got up to give a speech. I thought it would be nice. Maybe he'd say something heartfelt for once. But no. Instead, he pulls out a fucking slideshow of hilarious photos of my wife. Old ones from her Instagram where she's crying, looking vulnerable, or just super unflattering. And he starts making jokes about her weight fluctuations, saying how she used to look like a twig when we first started dating and now she's more well-fed. My wife's face turned white. She started crying quietly, and my brother? He just kept going, laughing like he was the funniest guy on the planet. The whole room was dead silent. I saw red. I stood up, walked right over to him, and told him to leave. Right in the middle of his speech, I said he was done, and I didn't care if he was my brother. My wife was humiliated. He tried to brush it off, saying I was ruining the fun and that everyone else thought it was funny. No one laughed. Not one person. He refused to leave at first, so I told security to get him out. He stormed out, calling me a fucking drama queen on the way out. Now, my parents are furious with me for embarrassing my brother at my own wedding. They think I overreacted, that I should have let it slide because he didn't mean it. My mom even said my wife was overreacting too, and that this was all just part of his sense of humor. My wife hasn't stopped crying since. I told my family we're taking a break from them. But now my phone is blowing up with texts from my mom and dad, saying I fractured the family and ruined my own wedding over a joke. I get that I blew up, but I couldn't stand seeing my wife so hurt. Did I go too far? Am I the a-hole? Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my stepmom the B-word? A few months ago, I literally never would have thought I'd be making this post LOL. But here we go. My 16F. Mom and dad got divorced a few months ago this year, and it was devastating for the whole family, but by far the worst for my mom. My dad had been cheating on her for 4/5 months with this woman from his department at work called Laura, and basically, as soon as the divorce was finalized literally this summer, he married Laura in a small wedding that I refused to go to. Background on my mom, 43F, she is probably my favorite person in the world. She's genuinely so sweet and gentle, and has always been my primary caregiver/emotional support throughout my whole life. Thanks a lot, Dad. And she was always RLY loyal to him, so this was not a both cheating situation. She was obviously distraught when my dad confessed to cheating and left, but I can't tell she tried to hide it from me a bit. BC, she would always tell me to go out with my friends whenever she was crying/doing legal stuff around the divorce. Laura, 41F, is the opposite of my mom. She is vapid and annoying, and very much the dumb shallow bleach blonde type that makes you think she would be 19 in terms of emotional maturity. But no, she's actually middle-aged and 2 years younger than my mom. She knew my mom was married to my dad, and apparently embraced her role as a mistress for months even though she knew I existed because I saw her a couple of times in passing when I went to my dad's work, and he introduced me to Laura as his daughter. Laura has really been embracing the wife role since my parents' divorce and has been acting as though she's now some kind of trad wife angel. Always making bread and acting sweet with me and shit. As though she wasn't being a massive homewrecker this summer when I was doing my GCSEs. My parents get joint custody of me and live in the same small town. So at weekends I stay with my dad and have to put up with him and his affair partner. I still think of Laura as that LOL, acting all lovey-dovey. I usually just stay in my room until it's over. I hate Laura, obviously. My relationship with my dad is more complex. BC, although I'm furious with him, I still sort of love him. BC, he's my dad. And it culminated at breakfast this morning when Laura tried to call herself my stepmom, when I said that a parents' evening at school was coming up so my dad would have to go. She apparently wanted to go too. I was in a bad mood. BC, I hate mornings anyway. So I muttered something pretty mean about her intelligence under my breath. The conversation was basically as follows, summarized slightly. "Elle, don't talk to me like that please, young lady. Me, I'll talk to you how I want. I know this was pretty rude. Please don't judge me too harshly. Elle, I am your dad's wife now, and you just have to accept that unfortunately. Me, this is where it goes wrong. A wear with a ring is still a whore." That's when the conversation ended because Laura burst into tears and my dad got really mad. I'm currently in my room writing this, not sure what to do. I'm starting to feel kind of guilty because it was my dad who cheated, but I don't forgive Laura and I don't think I'll ever like her. I hate making people cry though, and I don't know whether to go down and apologize or stand my ground on this. My dad and Laura are acting like I said something crazy out of line, so I'm starting to think insulting her was the wrong move because I don't want to start some new massive family drama. Please tell me if I am the a-hole, and if so, how can I make this right? Edit/update. Thank you so much to everyone supportive in these comments. I've decided to talk this through with a therapist, and I will try and live full-time with my mom now. I will not be cutting off my dad completely, but I'm going to take a break and collect myself before I'm ready to spend time with him again. Appreciate all the good advice I've been given. Edit 2. Just to clarify, I am not more angry at Laura than my father. I know at the end of the day it's Dad who broke the wedding vows. Trust me, he has had his tirade. Well, this is just specifically about her.